Howdy mates, good afternoon. How are we all doing? It is Saturday, February 11th, 2023. We're actually over at the Ponce de León Park in Punta Gorda. It's always a pleasure to come back out here every so often. Right now we're actually facing the Charlotte Harbor, and we're actually starting to finally feel that piece of the cold front moving in. Because I tell you what, this morning it was a little toasty. It was basically in the mid-80s with a little bit of humidity, which is kind of a nuisance this time of year, given that we experienced that during the summer. Not quite ready for that yet. But anyway, the Charlotte Harbor is, of course, the second largest estuary in the state of Florida. An estuary just describes a water habitat that has a mixture of both fresh and salt water. But I tell you what, I'm not used to seeing it this wavy at all. But you know, it's quite amazing how water, which is a liquid, and air, which is a vapor, even though they're completely opposite in terms of their state of matter, they behave very similarly. They both have a flowing pattern, and they always take a path of least resistance. So this park is, of course, well known for their mangrove habitats. So, of course, you're going to see black mangrove, which is what produces those pneumatophores, which is just a fancy way of saying they act as snorkels. So basically, these roots, they're responsible for allowing the black mangrove to breathe. And they are known to be salt excretors for another. But the Charlotte Harbor is, of course, well known for its tea-colored water, which of course has to do with the content of tannins. And when I said that it's the second largest, the largest estuary in the state is the Tampa Bay. But I figured while I was here, I wanted to point out this particular plant right here. You see this? Right here? You see how they have these leaves that resemble a heart? I mean, quite frankly, they kind of remind me of eastern redbud that I would see, of course, in my home state. Well, anyway, this particular plant that you're looking at is something known as a Portia tree. Now, given that it is a shrub, this particular plant is actually known to be a Category 1 invasive plant. Now, when I say category numbers, that's not referring to hurricanes. That was funny. But the Portia tree is originally from the Old World tropics, so probably like portions of South America or even Southeast Asia. Of course, I will clarify that, but it was essentially brought over as another ornamental plant. Now, they produce these yellow petals as flowers, and they actually resemble hibiscus, though I have come to understand that they aren't necessarily related to the hibiscus, even though the flower arrangement looks very similar to one. But as you can see, you know, it's able to grow just along with the mangroves just fine. So that clearly indicates that the plant can tolerate a little bit of salt water, or it's a salt-tolerant plant. But here are some of the blooms that they produce as a result. I believe this is the fruit. So, in terms of whether it's edible, I honestly am not entirely sure. It's one of those things. It could be edible once. But just so you know, if you guys do see this particular plant, know right away that this is an invasive. It does not belong here. And the way I always like to remember it, the leaves look like a heart. Now, there are other plants that look similar, but what makes the distinction with this one is it has a longer tip on the leaf. Whereas some other plants that look similar, the leaves are a bit fatter. So in other words, they're a bit more wide. And I believe the petiole isn't as deep either. It's not as crested. So yeah, there you go. That's a little tidbit for you guys. That's the thing. Since Florida has such a subtropical climate, it has the capability to support an array of different plants. So that's why, frankly, Florida has so many invasive plants and animals too. Because Florida has that particular climate that can just support a number of different organisms. So, it's part of it. So hopefully there can be a time in the future the Florida Master Naturalist program actually offers it's like an invasive plant module, so that students can have the opportunity to become more aware of what plants act as a threat. And it looks like you're starting to see some more that are growing. So you can tell that it's a very widespread plant. So alright, you guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And Mr. Journey on a Journey is onwards. Take care, folks. See ya.